On today's video we're going to be talking about rotavator blades and how to sharpen them. There's various sorts, there's big ones like those, and if we move along a little bit, the smaller ones have small things, and some I've made myself. They need just slightly altering, but the idea is to show you how to sharpen them. Tiller blades normally go on something like this, small tiller blades. It don't matter whether it's electric one like this one or it's a petrol one like this one. The tiny blades like this kind of blade, small blade, goes on that type of thing. These bigger types of blades, they go on such as walk behind tractors, that sort of thing, and they are quite big and bulky. These will fit on a tractor like this. Hybrid blades fit on this tractor. Sometimes they call it rotavator or tiller. I tend to think that this is a rotavator, whereas the small blades are for tillers, not rotavators. The difference being that a rotavator like this will go quite deep, whereas a tiller will only go, I don't know, maybe up to 6 inches, something like that, whereas this will go a foot and more deep. So we're going to start with this kind of blade. They only sharpen on one edge. They don't sharpen like if you buy a knife sharpener, for the sake of an argument, you buy a knife sharpener, it'll sharpen both ends of it, both sides of it. Whereas on a tiller blade, any tiller blade, you only sharpen one side. On this particular blade, if I can just show you, it's this side and top. Underneath it's not sharpened at all. You only take it down on one. The reason we sharpen these blades is if you buy a blade from a shop, they'll say straight away don't sharpen it. If you're on a garden and you're going along and you hit a bit of a root with a petrol tiller, you will automatically jump because it won't cut through it. Okay, so we sharpen them so it'll cut it, so you hardly feel it. And it's same with big blade. If you go through a bit of a root, you don't want, such as my tractor, 7 horsepower, lifting up in air. It needs to cut straight through it. There's a lot of videos, aren't there, about sharpening these, loads and loads of them. So one the other day, a guy got this exact blade, sat on his porch with an hand grinder, and he's sharpening it on his knee, which is the worst thing you can ever do. You need to clamp it down on something. Now, even the electric ones, like this electric one, you can get them off the spine themselves. Sometimes they've got a nut on this end, and sometimes they've got a pin. I don't know if you can see that pin, but there's a pin there. So you take it out and it comes off. Sometimes if they've never been taken off, they need a lot of persuasion to get them off, but they do come off. So we're going to sharpening. Okay, we're going to start with this one, and as I said, in a vice, just pinch it up, just so it won't move anywhere. I wouldn't recommend using such as a bench grinder on this because it's very rough. You want something like this that's, I've used this quite a lot, and it's got to such a state now where it makes a really nice good job of it. Just turn it on, run it over it. Now that's not as sharp as a razor, it doesn't need to be, it just needs to be enough to cut it, whatever you're going through. So I'm going to carry on to this and the other one that matches that, and then I'll get onto the big ones and show you how they do. Always remember that when you take these off, remember which side they're on and make sure you know which way round they go. So when you put them back onto the machine, you know which way to go. These blades, something that's just been mentioned to me. What I use them for? These particular ones I use after I've dug to make the soil really fine. I also use them for hilling my potatoes, which I'll make a video on, because once you see how they hill potatoes, you'll be amazed. Really good. And sometimes I use them for weeding. It just depends. These blades are quite different. I don't know if I can actually show this, but here you've got a line. When you're buying them new, you've got a line, and it's there. I don't know if you can see it on camera actually. Let me just have a look, but there's a line there anyway. And that's your sharpening thing. As I say, when you buy these from the shop, they do advise you not to sharpen them. But again, as I said, 7 horses pulling this thing, and you hit something that's pretty hard, like a root or something, it will lift that tractor up in the air. So you need to be able to cut through it. There's different ways of doing this. Now, one way is take every blade off and sharpen it, which, let me tell you, to put these things together, it is a nuisance, because they've all got to go in a different thing. Now the other way of doing it is just to take the centre off, centre out. Okay, so you can take centre out, centre blades. So you've only got 4 to take out. Then you can get your, because you can't get your grinder in to get at these. So that's one way of doing it. But once this is removed, you can carry on. Now also, here, let me see if I can just make an adjustment. Here's a bolt, and this bolt you can take out, and this section will come away, which makes life even easier as long as you put it back. And they have to be set up in a certain way. Now you can see that the inners, this is the inside, the inner is the same as the outer. So if you take this off, you've got to put it back so that that coincides together, and then you can put, you know, where they go. It's standard. Okay, now if these have never been off your tractor before, then this again it's a pin. I don't know if you can see that, but just have a quick look, see if you can. I don't know, I'm not sure, but there's a pin here that unlocks it. That'll unlock it off your tractor. Again, if they've never been off, they'll take some persuading, but they'll come off. I take mine off every year, because I use my walk behind tractor as transport as well, so they have to come off and wheels have to go on, so they come off quite regularly. Again, we're only sharpening one half, we're not sharpening both sides, one side only. That's the only side you've got to sharpen. So what we'll do, I'll get these stripped and we'll get them sharpened. Well, today I'm going to take off the end and the centre pieces, so they'll be separate and that will be one piece. Always make sure when you put them back, it's got a little thing on it here, a little ring goes on that side. Other side won't work for you, trust me. That is what they look like. Again, we're only sharpening this one side. See where it's been sharpened before. That's where the line was when they were new, just there. So that's the cutting edge of it. So now we've got all the pieces, we can sharpen that easily. This part here we can sharpen easily, and the blades. So that's the next project. When you leave them together like this, sharpen this edge here and sharpen this edge. Then you've got to turn the whole thing over, because obviously the blade is on this side, this one. It's on that side, this side, to the opposite. So you've got to sharpen this end, then this end. When they're separate, like this one's separate, you just put that in vice, just sharpen that. It's very simple. But remembering not to do this side. It's very important not to do the other side. So we'll get these done. Remember when we're doing it, we're not after a knife's edge. And it does help just to clean this up a little bit. Before you put it back, put a bit of grease on it. Makes work a lot better place. Instead of single ones, you can just put into vice and just sharpen them. And that's what you're looking at as a point. So it's not sharp enough to cut you, but it's sharp enough to do the job. This bar that's in the centre that joins them together, I said we need to clean this up because I don't know why it was difficult to get off today, but it was. So it needs sorting out. Now I'm going to take a bit of this off, but not enough to get down to paint. You're only taking off if there's any soil or something like that on it. Brilliant thing. Never paint them. Absolute classic piece of advice. Never paint them, because soil sticks to paint. So when you're doing your garden, soil will stick to the paint that you are that you painted it with. When they come from a factory, you can see, but paint on this, like it's sort of worn away now. But when you first get them, they're covered in paint and they're nothing but really, honestly, a nuisance. So we're going to drop this back together with this piece. Make sure that everything goes where everything's supposed to go. So we'll look at this and we know, because that piece is here, top piece has to be exactly the same. Let's get the spanners. One on here. Some of that grease will have gone through onto this nut, but I don't like to grease the nuts up for the simple reason if you grease them up then you start having problems. So that's put back together, so it is, everything worked exactly as it's supposed to do. Somebody just mentioned something to me that makes sense and doesn't make sense. Why don't you do this at the end of the year? Because you clean them, make sure they're alright for winter, put oil on sometimes, and you look after them when you sharpen them. Well, I mentioned a similar thing I think at the beginning of the video. They all come with paint and that paint wears off eventually, and this ain't sharp. Now they'll never rust. They'll never rust them. Look after them, they'll never rust. Trust me, they rust. Right? So it is better if you're taking an edge off this metal, we'll say, I don't know, November time, all winter they sat in shed, moisture's getting at them and they'll start rusting. They will start rusting, especially where you've been cutting the blades. So that's why I do it, because we've got all summer. I'll use them, clean them, put them away. Comes next year I'll just get usually something like WD-40, spray them and then put them away, sharpen them again. This year it's no good for sharpening them at the end of the year. You're better off sharpening them at the beginning. Anyway, that's how you do that. I've got another video coming about the blades that I made myself for the small tiller, and I've also got a video on deassembling the gearbox on the bottom of your, whether it be petrol, maybe electric tiller, so that you can re-grease it, which is a really good idea. But that's coming later.